Welcome back to Lavender Recap. In today's video, we'll be going through an American biographical sports drama movie from the year 2009 titled The Blind Side. If you're visiting this channel for the first time, I would love to have you as a subscriber. Spoilers ahead, so watch out and take care. The Blind Side is based on the true story of offensive left lineman Michael Oher of the Baltimore Ravens. Michael grew up with his mother in Memphis, Tennessee's Hurt Village inner city housing developments. His narrative begins with him being homeless and coming from a dysfunctional family with a drug-addicted mother and an absent father. Family services took charge of his life as he grew up due to his family's situation. Unfortunately, he was bounced around in and out of foster homes as a child, and now, as a teenager, finds himself abandoned by the folks with whom he had been living. By chance, the coach wishes for a player the size of Michael, who's still just 17 but appears to be rather large. Coach persuades the school board to admit him despite his poor academic performance. Yet he finds himself at the same private Christian school as the Toohey children. Michael is a reserved individual. Because he tries to play with kindergarten children who reject or ignore him, he's shown to have a childlike nature. He doesn't even write anything on the test papers. Instead, he merely submits the blank page. The sorrowful scenario depicts a group of females playing volleyball, and after the game has ended, Michael, who has no money for food, begins scooping up the leftover popcorn from the crowd to satisfy his hunger. That's because he's staying at a friend's house and sleeping on their couch, but his friend's mother isn't thrilled with him being there. One day at school, he befriends Sean S.J. Toohey, the youngest Toohey, who introduces him to the rest of the Toohey family. Sean is a pleasant young man with whom they get along well. Sean S.J.'s mother, Leanne Toohey, watches Michael and her son converse from afar. Sean replies he's Big Mike later when she wonders who the person is. She sees Michael for the first time at that point. Later, Leanne Toohey, her husband Sean, and their children, Sean S.J. and Collins, spot him strolling down the road to the school gym, where he has been sleeping, and question his whereabouts. They found out later that he doesn't have a place to stay. As a result, they pick him up and take him home for the evening. When Leanne comes to see Michael later that morning, he's seen standing in the garden with a sorrowful expression on his face, and when she asks where he's going, he answers he has nowhere to go. However, because it's a holiday and Thanksgiving, Leanne asks that he stays for the day and he returns to their home. The kids aren't fazed by his presence. He's seated at the dining table with his entire family, and they all have breakfast together, making him feel at ease. She later takes Michael out in her car and asks him to tell her everything there is to know about himself. As a result, he takes Leanne to his mother's house, only to find a notice of eviction posted on the door for non-payment of rent. Michael returns to the car depressed and sits in it. Leanne brings him to a clothing store and buys him some wonderful clothes to cheer him up and make him feel better. The next day, he goes to school with Sean S.J., and for the first time, he wears decent clothes. Leanne quickly offers him a room and a bed, and she begins to offer him more and more favors. She begins to look into his background, including his professional aptitude test course, in which he had poor grades in everything but one, protective instincts. As a result, she begins assisting Michael with his schoolwork. His academic performance gradually improves. He begins to pay attention to his professor's recommendations at school, works diligently to achieve good marks, and becomes more active and happy than he has ever been in his life. With all of the nice things going on, Leanne and her family, along with Michael, go to a restaurant for supper, and Leanne notices him hugging and waving goodbye to one of the waiters as they walk back to their house. When she inquires as to who it was, he responds that it was his brother, and that although living in the same city, they haven't seen each other in years. Michael has 11 siblings, but he doesn't communicate with any of them. He has no idea where his sisters and brothers live, let alone have their contact information. Leanne is depressed and unhappy after hearing about his rough existence. Leanne invites him to join the family in the usual Christmas card shot that year. Beth, Elaine, and Sherry, Leanne's friends, get together on a regular basis at a posh local restaurant. The friends tease Leanne about her project and the projects, but she cuts them off, threatening to stop seeing them if they don't appreciate what she does. Leanne desires a face-to-face chat with Michael's mother in order to adopt her son. Despite her initial lack of response, his mother eventually wishes him well, and he becomes a full-fledged part of the family. She claims that Michael had been labeled a runner by social services, and she predicts that Leanne would discover one day that he has run away for good without warning. Leanne also has to deal with some strong males from the projects who have previously made derogatory remarks about her. When she threatens them and shows no fear of him, they're silent. Michael has wanted a little truck since he was a child, and Leanne fulfills his wish. With all the joy in his life, he begins to feel as if he has his own family. Sean expresses his desires to see the game one day, but when Leanne is unavailable, He offers that Michael drives him to the game. Later, when driving to the game, they're involved in an accident, but Sean is unharmed, despite the fact that he's a small child and the airbag, which is deployed during the accident, generally causes serious injuries to children age. However, when Leanne notices a wound on Michael's palm and inquires about it, she learns that he saved Sean from the airbag in order to avoid any injury. Leanne and Sean go to school the next day to see Michael play football. Even though he has a large body and is quite muscular, he lacks the necessary skill to play the game and protect his team. Leanne uses this to teach him how to play on the field based on the fact that he has a high protective instinct score. She informs him that he's required to protect and defend his squad in the same manner he protects and defends his family. Leanne knows exactly how to help Michael reach his best potential. He couldn't get the feel of the game or its regulations up until that point, and he didn't know what his job on the field was. He begins to play well and contribute to his squad from that point forward. His skills and the power of his toned body give him a significant advantage in the game, and his squad begins to knock on the door of victory one by one. Many institutions want him to play in their teams. When Sean records all of these games on his camera, burns them to CDs, and sends them to the other coaches. He's given the opportunity to play at the university level. However, he needs to improve his academics, so the Tooheys employ a private tutor, outspoken and kind Miss Sue, who is driven to succeed because, like Mrs. Toohey, she wants him to play for Ole Miss. She makes a statement about the University of Tennessee dumping the body parts of murdered individuals under their football field during their geography class, which Michael appears to believe without question. While he had been considering Tennessee, this event convinces him to sign with Ole Miss. Sean speaks with the coaches and negotiates on Michael's behalf, as well as his own. He must make a decision when his grades are high enough, which he does. He picks the university where Sean played football and Leanne was a cheerleader. As a result, before Michael arrives, Investigator Granger moves on to the next case. She interrogates him as if they were at a police station conducting an interrogation. She believes that Tooheys and Miss Sue were exploiting Michael to help their alma mater, Ole Miss. Everything Leanne's family has done thus far, she informs Michael, could be part of their plan. She goes on to claim that they fed him, gave him a roof over his head, bought him a truck, and even adopted him. But for what? By saying all of this, she instills in him the terrifying notion that Leanne accomplished all of this because she recognized his ability to win games and is exploiting him for her own gain. Michael runs out after hearing all of this and sees her standing there and accuses her of exploiting him to win the game. He storms away to find his birth mother, despite her attempts to explain that she had no such plans. He's welcomed back to Hurt Village by the Tough Man's commander, who offers him a beer and implies that Michael has had sexual contact with Leanne or her kid. As a gang leader threatens to go for the two ladies himself, his protective instincts are triggered. Michael slams him against the wall, knocking his gun to the ground. He recognizes that the Tooheys are now his family after thinking about it. After talking to Leanne about the accusations, he informs Granger that this is why he chose Ole Miss. The movie ends with photographs and details about the real Toohey family, as well as Michael Oher, who continued to play in the NFL. He was drafted during the first round of the 2009 NFL Draft by the Baltimore Ravens. Well, that's the heartwarming story of an inspiring guy. Did you enjoy the movie? Let's know your favorite scenes in the comments below.